Hi, today we're going to be looking at the performance of a SonicWall TZ270. This is the Generation 7 appliance. I've been a great fan of SonicWall for many, many years. In fact, I started selling these in Europe in 1999. We've sold these all across the world, thousands of them. 8-9 years ago, these guys got sold to Dell and the technology somewhat stagnated. And when it came to actually the throughput of these devices, up until recently, they've not been that great. SonicWall have said, you've got to have another look at this. This is not sponsored by SonicWall in any way, so please do understand that. This is just our take, my take personally, on the performance and where this unit can go. This is the starting unit of the TZ range, so the TZ270, 370, 470, 570, and 670. And then it moves on to the NSA 2700 and the newly released 3700. All right, so let's set the scene of what we have here. Our offices here are on a one-to-one uncontended fiber line, 2 kilometers of cable that we've had pulled directly. It's not NBN Enterprise. It's not a spin-off of any of the NBNs. This is a dedicated fiber link from Exetel. So if we're just going to run a little speed test here so that we can set the scene, we're connected to an edge router, a Ubiquiti edge router. Now, this is actually going through this SonicWall TZ270. So on a 1 gig line, you're not going to get a true 1 gig if you're going to do a speed test. Obviously, there are many things that are going to cause issues. The speed test server that you're running off, some of the packet sizes, and a little bit of latency there. So if we were running this purely connected to the edge router, we'd probably expect to get about 940 to 960 megasecond on a speed. Obviously, the edge router is literally doing routing. This is an entry-level firewall, and you can see from this test here that we've already got 905 meg down and 870 meg up. So it gives us a good starting point because we're going to go through the security services turning on, and you can see the performance differences. Now, it's good to just bear in mind that if you want to try this at home, make sure you download the speed test app. If we were to do this in a web browser, this would only show a speed of about 500 megasecond. So it's much better to actually use the app. The results are much more consistent. Okay, so we're just going to step through turning on some security services so you can see the performance of this unit. We already can see that the TZ270 is going to comfortably do 900 megasecond if we would just plug that straight into an Ethernet service. So if you've got anything below a gig, this is going to perform it. Remember, this is just doing NAT. It's not doing any other firewall services at this moment in time. I just want to show you how I've configured this unit. This is pretty much out of the base box. It has a slightly different firmware. Obviously, these are fairly new units, so I will just actually show you the firmware on this device, so you can see what we're running. In our tests, we actually have tried this and the current released firmware, and both run exactly the same results here. So we're just running the current public release is 906. We're running this that has a variant on the end, but the performance is actually just the same. All right, so let me just show you some of the key elements that we've done here. So on our network, it's very simple. If you've done anything with a SonicWall before, you'll know that there's a very big balance here between getting the deep packet inspection, the DPI, and the number of connections you need running together. So by standard out of the box, the SonicWall is set as maximum DPI, and this balance is, well, it gives you possibly a slightly slower performance, which is a great place for us to be starting. Now, the SonicWall uses a reassembly-free packet inspection, okay, a bit of a mouthful there. So many other vendors actually have to put a lot of the packets together to try and get an identification on those packets. The SonicWall doesn't need to do that. It's looking for specific telltale signs within each packet, but we do need to look inside the packet. Please remember that 85% or so of the traffic on your network is going over HTTPS. And so this unit, as it stands, when we've done this first phase, won't be doing any deep packet inspection of that HTTPS traffic. To make that work, you're going to need to put in a trusted certificate, and hopefully we'll be able to show you that in a few minutes as well, although the performance test of that is very difficult or easy to achieve. All right, so we're going to start in the policies section. I'm going to come back to this in a moment, but let's start in security services summaries. This feature here, so in enhanced security, this is what you really want for your box to be ultimately secure. The one thing I love about SonicWall, all the other vendors, you have to set up a firewall policy, and then you have to apply your things like content filtering, your intrusion prevention, your anti-spyware, your gateway antivirus to that firewall rule. In SonicWall, you just have the ability to tick a box and it will apply it across the unit. That makes securing the unit so much easier to do. So we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the difference that enhanced security actually makes, and it does make a significant performance difference to your unit, but I can show you how to change some of those settings to get the best out of it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to slowly work through each security service and turn it on and do a speed test. Generally, this is a very basic way of doing it, I admit, but this is a very simple way across all the firewall vendors to do what you can do at home. We're downloading a file of a certain size. We're allowing the firewall to inspect inside it. Now this firewall is actually doing something very clever. It's deciding whether that is secure or not. So we're just going to do all the features one by one, and then we're going to come back and turn enhanced security on, and I'm going to show you what that does to the overall performance of the firewall. So let's remember that we've got our speed test that we've just done. Let's just do that again so that we know we actually have some consistency here. All right, so we're probably just a little bit less on the speed, but I'm not too worried about that, because that's going to fluctuate very slightly with this unit, and it's entry unit. I'm not trying to show you that it can do a gig. It's comfortably able to do close to 900 megaseconds. That's a good starting point. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move to gateway antivirus. Now we'll actually just show you that in zones is where we apply these policy rules. So you will actually see, although my feature set is already off, I have already configured each of the zones, so my LAN and my WAN, to have spyware, intrusion prevention, gateway antivirus, application control, SSL control for expired certificates, that type of thing, and deep packet client inspection running. So I've already set these features up. This is the only place it needs to be enabled, and most of these are already enabled in the default configuration. You then just need to turn the features on as you go through. So I'm going to show you this in its complete state. Now this, on the older versions, Gen 6 would have just completely killed your firewall. It would have dropped down to a severely slow speed. So I'm just going to show you this. There is something we'll come back and have a look at on this later on. So we've turned gateway antivirus on. We'll run another speed test just to give us an idea each way we're doing these things, just to prove that we're getting, again, a fairly consistent speed of close to that 900, which is what we were looking for. So we've turned on antivirus protection. What's this doing is looking inside all of the packets that come through the firewall and inspecting them for virus signatures, and it will actually kill the download. Now listen, the file that we're doing, I acknowledge, is probably fairly safe and it's doing very little work. But this is a very simple test that compares the similar way we do this with our other vendors that we work with as well, and you'll see that actually that has an impact on the speed of their download. So that's the first one. We're going to then move to anti-spyware. We're going to hit this feature as well. Now you will notice, if I just quickly go back here, that I have actually, this isn't enabled like this totally by default. I like this. This is the total way of securing it. I've got every inbound connection and I've got every outbound. We're not defining this to just be filtering if we're doing HTTP or FTP. This is actually, this one at the bottom here is the most significant. This is looking at every packet that travels through your firewall, whatever port it's running on, which is why I like the SonicWall and the simplicity of how it works. So again, we're going to enable anti-spyware, and let's just repeat that test again. All right, so it's again giving us close to our 900 meg. So the performance of this is not being influenced by turning these features on, which is giving us a great confidence that even though this is an entry-level firewall, this is going to do what we need it to do. We're going to repeat this for intrusion prevention. So in intrusion prevention, what I've done here is I have enabled it to block high priority, but which is how I would standard configure this, and I've got it to detect all of them. With detect, it means that it's still looking in the medium and low priorities, but it's not actually doing anything with this. What's great is this is sticking it in our log file, and so as we want to bring our security level up, we slowly we're going to work through here to improve our security. So once we're happy that we're stopping all of the high profile attacks, we can then move to block medium and see if that has any impact on our network. The lower that we can go in these settings, i.e. ultimately if you get down to low priority, the more secure your network is. So we've just got that set up again. We're going to repeat that whole process again, and I wouldn't expect on this to really see much, although it shouldn't actually be doing something more with all of the packets that are traveling through. But again, we're hitting that 900 meg. Now, obviously, if we were doing a large download, an unknown download, then we're going to see some speed difference. I'm just using the same size file every single time, so please don't shoot me down for that. I know what I'm doing, but it will give us a consistent result across all of the vendors that we're trying and showing this for. Obviously, if you're downloading off a mirror or something else, you will get different speeds, the more packets having to look at. But this is an entry-level firewall, and I wanted to know even if this could do more than 100 megasecond. All right, we can do the same with app control, but we're not actually doing anything with app control, so I'm not actually going to do a speed test with this. What I'm now actually going to show you to prove that something is actually happening is I'm actually going to enable enhanced security. Now, my understanding of enhanced security is it's actually not going to now look at certain files and go, this is generally trusted. It's going to assume that every packet traveling through here is untrusted. So we are going to expect to see a big drop in performance. So let's push this to here. And look, hey, we have been doing 900 megasecond. We are now doing 116 megasecond. That is a massive drop, but expected because every single packet we're needing to analyze. Now, we could go back to those settings that I used at the beginning and try and balance our DPI against the number of connections to see if we can improve it. But I can also show you exactly what is causing this. Now, I've seen this same speed across most of the TZ range. Would I be worried about this? Not particularly. The TZ270, as we can see, could go on a 500 meg connection perfectly. It's ideal right now at 100 meg if you wanted to turn everything on. But the reason this is running slightly slower, or a lot slower, a tenth the speed, is because of our gateway and our gateway antivirus setting here. So I'm just going to log back in again. Our unit has just thrown us out, which is okay. And we're just going to go back to our antivirus. Now, if we change this to not look in the TCP stream, so this is basically saying, let's assume that the download and everything that we're doing has been initialized by a user, which means they're probably doing it over HTTP. They're probably using FTP, or it's coming in an email. Now, this is not going to protect stuff that's encrypted. Remember, we're not looking inside encrypted packets. So if we set this to accept, and actually now we run this speed test again. All right, we're back up to close to our 900 megasecond. So the protection that we've got with TCP stream turned on is our ultimate protection. But I have control over that and going, well, actually, in fact, in the TCP stream, I could be prepared to drop that down or drop that off completely because I'm assuming that most users are downloading. Therefore, this, for me, the TZ270 is a fantastic appliance. We will come back and look at SSL in a minute, but I just want to make two changes just to give you an example of products in a similar price bracket, if not probably a little bit more expensive, and their current performance. So I'm just going to change this default gateway over on my machine so that we're sending the packets now through a WatchGuard T70, same performance pretty much on a T80. I'm just actually going to stop the speed test app and restart it because I want to make sure that it hasn't resulted in looking at anything else. All right, we will put this back because I think it was using pivot before. So let's have a look on here. All right, so you can actually see this against a WatchGuard, which is probably double the price in this instance. The WatchGuard is doing 600 megasecond. We've seen this unit doing 900 megasecond. So there's a difference there. We're going to now change this again. So there we can see the result. 600 meg down, 775 up. I was just trying to work out what IP address I needed to change that to, so the screen would have jumped very slightly there. So I'm going to just change this now over to a Sophos 125 that's doing roughly the same sort of config, intrusion prevention and everything as well. I'm just going to get that speed test app running again. All right, and we're going to hit that up to go again. Now it's going over Superloop. We might just change that back to pivot so that we can see an exact same result. I'm probably not going to see much different. Again, this is doing about 600 meg. So we can see that there is actually quite a difference, and this TZ270 is performing really, really well. Remember, this is doing actually more at its speed because both the WatchGuard and the Sophos have a more of a proxy-based mentality. So they're having to put filtering just on the protocols that are being checked and tested, whereas we've changed the way that it's worked. The SonicWall is doing that across all packets. The only thing it's not checking for is that antivirus. So it's basically a like for like in the way that this is testing. So we'll just change this back now to the SonicWall, but hopefully that gives you an idea on where that fits across some different price brackets. And like I said, the TZ here 270, would I be interested in putting the TCP stream on? Yes, I probably would, but you can make this work on a 1 gig connection. If you want all the bells and whistles, then you're probably going to need to jump up to the NSA series to get the raw throughput that you need to be able to have that on all the streams. We can do a little bit of a test. We can maybe just do this and go, well, actually, we're more interested just in inbound. And remember, this is just on a continual file. It's not necessarily how you get surfing. So you remember that we're just trying to give you the tools that you're used to on a speed test. This doesn't mean that everybody's only going to be limited to 100 meg. They still may find speeds that are well up into those hundreds, maybe even close to that 900. This is just a consistent way to show over and over again how the firewall looks at a specific packet or a specific download. So you can see here that again the result is pretty much the same, even just by enabling part of that. Now I want to show you about deep packet inspection for HTTPS. This is obviously something that's fairly crucial nowadays because 85% of your network is encrypted, and therefore whatever we have already set up here is actually not going to have any effect because it can't see the traffic, it can't unencrypt it. So testing this is a little bit more tricky. In this section here, I want to just show you that we have it enabled. We're telling it in all of that, in all the packets, to look for the gateway, look for antivirus, or look for viruses and spyware in the files. All right. We have, at the moment, I've set it up so that every category that we're content filtering is also included in this. So once that's set up, it should be already set up for you. But if it isn't, you need to go into rules and policies and just check your access rule. So I've got an access rule here, and we're here LAN to WAN. We're just going to edit this rule. And in security profiles, I'm just going to turn on client deep packet inspection. And I'm just going to grab over a web page that I've got on one of the other screens. So I've got a Ubuntu mirror here. All right, we've loaded this page. If we have a look here, we can actually see the certificate. This is doing what is called a man-in-the-middle attack. So maybe the word attack is probably not great there, but a man in the middle. So as you know, for my web browser here, when I've put this URL in, it has asked for the certificate. A certificate has been given to it normally, and that would then create the encryption from point to point. At that point, our firewall doesn't know what traffic is traveling through there. It can't see if one of these files I'm downloading has got viruses in it because the traffic is totally encrypted because HTTPS is in the front. When we do a man in the middle, basically what we do is we get the firewall in the middle of this communication. So really what's happening is my web browser is being told that it's connected to the Ubuntu mirror, but actually it's being connected to the SonicWall, and the SonicWall is giving it a certificate. Now, if I hadn't trusted the certificate, it would big up an error message on my screen here saying that this is an untrusted site. So to make Deep Packet SSL work, Deep Packet Inspection on SSL, you do need to push out trusted certificates. You either need to install them manually or you can push them out with Active Directory. So if we were actually looking and go back to our client SSL, go to certificate, and we choose download, and we need to put this in as a secure signer. So we download it, we'd install it. When you double click it, it should ask you where you want to put it, and you put it as a trusted signing authority, I think it is. Once that's installed, then this is what will happen. Instead of this being signed by mirror.internet.asn, we actually see it's been issued by SonicWall. So what's now actually happening is that I can download, or I can connect to a website, and because the firewall is in the middle, the firewall is unencrypting and re-encrypting. This puts a massive weight on the CPU and the throughput of the device. Now, it's actually really difficult to do a speed test on this because we're doing this test in the middle. It can actually cause an issue with some of the speed test tools out there. All that we can look at is going, well, here I can actually say to you, here's my 2 gig file. I'm going to send my 2 gig file to download, and this 2 gig file currently is going to take probably about 9 minutes to download. Now, this is obviously coming from someone that's not massively close to me, so it's not always a great example. If I was doing this without the deep packet inspection on, I'd expect that probably to take about 3 or 4 minutes. So if I was trying to balance the throughput, then I'd be saying that this is probably going to be doing about 300 megasecond with the services turned on, which is, again, phenomenally acceptable for the entry-level firewall in this range. So hopefully that's just giving you an overview. I would be quite happy to stick this on a 1 gig connection for most people. This is going to be overperforming. Obviously, bear in mind that this doesn't come as turned on in Security Enhanced Security as default. It is something, as you can see from the notes here, that Sonic will recommend because it's now not trusting many packets. But every firewall vendor is trying to find a direct path, some call it fast path, a way of looking at the first packet and going, oh, we trust that site. Now everything else that's going to download is going to come through and we're not going to have to inspect it. Why? Because it makes the firewalls run faster. Hopefully that's just giving you an idea of how I think this firewall will run. We know from our speed tests here that we've been doing, probably not a great example now, and this will actually refuse to run right at this moment in time because we've got deep packet inspection running. Oh no, it's actually going to. So there we go. We've actually got a result, which I'm really pleased about actually. So this is doing deep packet inspection on the SSL, and you can see we're doing about 500 megasecond on the download. We were doing 900 megasecond. Its published true figures are around about 300, which is something that I would probably keep it in mind to be closer to. So hopefully that has been useful. TZ270, fantastic performance device. I'd stick it on a network that was doing a gig without any worries whatsoever in my mind. It's going to do the performance that you need. Testing again. Now this won't. I just want to prove to you at the end, because that's already using a certificate that's trusted. The application doesn't trust it because the firewall is in the middle of it. So again, if I was actually wanting to make that work, I would need to turn off the inspection that I've got running here on this interface or this firewall rule. And then if I was actually to restart this, then it would actually run again. So I would think If you're just looking to do, like I've shown you, all those gateway security, application control, all of those bits and pieces, run this with the settings that I've given you. Be quite confident in how that was going to run on a 1 gig connection. If you're wanting to turn on all the security, total security protection there, then you might want to consider looking a little bit higher up the units. But we do see roughly the same speed when you turn on that setting here on all of them. But obviously the way around that, that's your gateway antivirus. You should already have an antivirus client on your PCs as well. Firewall doesn't negate the need to have that. And you might want to therefore just take off this TCP stream section in the gateway antivirus, and you again will see the performance that you need. So if we take that off, again, we should be able to see our full speed. We should be closer to the 900 meg. Looks like we've probably got a little bit of a wobble in the speed test at this moment in time. But that should give you an idea of what the SonicWall TZ270 can do. Really good box, fantastically well priced, performance exceptional.